All right, October 2nd, 2025. It is the Beating the Book podcast, MegaPod, Week 5 in the National Football League, live from the Sirius XM studios here at the Wynn Posh Sirius XM Studios facility. Maybe my regular pillars of the show will join me here if they're ever in Vegas. One from his mom's cork attic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, looking like he's dark right now in the darkness. There he is. Todd Wishnev, everybody, the star of the Showtime docuseries Action, who joins us now. T. Wishnev on Twitter. What's happening, Todd?
Dun, 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 dun.
I had to join you. Sorry. I fought the urge. I was like, I can't encourage him. Stop. Don't help him. Todd Wishnev, everybody, whose mic sounds good so far. Early returns are his mic sounds good. Well, that's a good thing. By the way, Todd today, he doesn't want to do this because he thinks it's overdone. But this podcast, the MegaPod, does happen to fall on the Jewish Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and so it gives Todd the opportunity to recount the greatest sports betting story of all time, which he dubbed what, Todd? What is it? What do you call it?
The Yom Kippur Massacre.
Did you be a little more enthusiastic about it, though? When
No,
you
I don't mind telling it. I just think it's been told enough times that it's like it's overkill. But if you want it, you can have it.
People are requesting it on Twitter. Buddhist wants to hear it.
Well, what Buddhist wants, Buddhist shall gets.
All right, Will Hill, the other pillar of the show, not from his mom's cork attic. He actually lives under his own roof. At not the Will Hill on Twitter. The name of his podcast is called Shoulda Bet More, and also a part of Bear Bets, Chris Felica's Bear Bets podcast empire at Fox Sports. Willie, what's happening?
Boys, what's going on? Best time of the year. It's been a lot of fun here these last couple of days. Hope we can get on track with these picks, but excited for the show as always.
And our rotating guest today, Tim Lawson, MegaPod historian, and in celebration of 15th year doing the MegaPod. I promise you, he is not doing this show from a small bathroom, which is where John Goulet said he suspects that this guest is. But Tim Lawson says about Clevta, he says the following. He says, this is Cleve's fourth appearance on the Beating the Book NFL MegaPod. His first episode was week 15 of 2022. Gill was catching up on White Lotus and loving it. Thank you. In his debut episode, Cleve made a point that an 8-point deficit should not be considered a 1-possession deficit, but rather more like a 1.5 possession deficit, considering you need to possess and score a second time after the touchdown. Cleve stumbled out of the gate as far as his record, but has only gotten better with time as his record improves by 1 win each season. And if that trend continues, that means he's going 3-0 this week. So I think what that means is you went 0-3, 1-2, and 2-1. The author of the best NFL preseason betting guide there is, Clevta, joins us. How you doing, Cleve?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm not in a bathroom right now. I'm at my local library branch because I'm having some Wi-Fi difficulties at home, and exactly why the local library was built for a Beating the Book MegaPod podcast on gambling.
That's right. Dewey Decimal System, all about the library. When was the last time you were in a library? That's a good effort. Yeah,
I have 2 small kids, and so I have started to take my 5-year-old. Actually, my wife, I just tag along. So we have brought her a couple of times, and I did get a passport for her here. So
there you go.
That does count. But yeah, it hasn't been often in the last 20 years. I'll just say that.
I appreciate the effort. We all do for you finding some Wi-Fi, because I know you have some construction at your house, and that's why you had to flee his actual home to do this MegaPod. Todd, the records, please, sir. We're starting, you and me starting to make a comeback. Willie's right behind, I'm sure.
Whenever you hear Clevta, do you think Cleve tits and ass? I always think of that when it says TA, even though I love his, I don't know. Anyways.
It's exactly where it came from. How'd you know, Todd?
Yeah, I was wondering. Anyways, Gilly had a nice little week from the Gillerson with a 2-1 to move to 5-7, and won his teaser as well to move to 2-2. Willie, maybe we should just skip this part of the show. Willie went 1-2 to move to a robust 2-10. However, he is 4-0 on the teasers. That is undefeated on the teasers, which is outstanding. I had a rough week, and 2-1 when the Raiders took a giant deuce in their pants late in the ball game to destroy my Raiders pick, and I went 0-2-1 to go to 6-5-1. And I lost my teaser to go to 1-3. Very disappointing teaser record for me. Usually pretty decent on my teasers. And the guest moves into the first place with a 3-0 from Pritch. Pritch with an outstanding 3-0 Jags, Chiefs, Falcons, and won his teaser as well. So the guest seat goes to 7-5. Of course, they're ineligible from winning the MegaPod record. However, they're still 7-5 and 3-1 on the teasers.
We've never had the guest seat win this, so we can't let that happen. No pressure, Cleve. I should actually call Cleve TA because Cleve is from Cleveland. Are you a Guardians fan? Are we taking you away from the baseball game in about an hour?
I would say baseball is last on my sports list, but I do. I mean, obviously, I love playoff baseball, so I'll I don't pay enough attention during the season, and then when it comes to the playoffs, I'm living and dying on every pitch. It's amazing how it pulls you back in.
I'm the same way.
So, what are you? Absolutely. Are you like Kent State football #1, then Browns, then something else?
Ohio State, buddy. This is an Ohio State.
I thought they were in Columbus. Cleve, I thought they were in Columbus, not in Cleveland.
They are, but do you have to live in Columbus in order to go to the school? I didn't know that. To be an alum.
I can check the records on that. Let me see. Yes, you do. You have to.
So I'm definitely Ohio State first. I'm Browns and Cavs, and then look, the Indians, but mid-90s Indians is my heyday. So that's I used to watch every pitch of every game. But as I got older and between work and couple kids and a wife who doesn't even watch sports, I had to pick and choose my battles, and baseball is what I essentially gave up for that. So, but when it comes to the playoffs, I'm all in.
All right. We do a Dumbo of the week. And not as many candidates this week, but some of the same familiar faces with the same familiar gaffes. There's really two that leap to mind. And if somebody has a third, they can chime in as a candidate. But one of them, no surprise, is Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans. And Will, what was it you were saying? You have him first coach fired. And am I correct in quoting you here? You say, if he is not the first coach fired, you are never betting this again, this market?
That's correct. I'm never betting this again. I'm never looking at this market again. I will be, and I usually can take my losses in stride. Been doing this long enough where you just kind of move on to the next one. This one deserves to win. He can't be worse. Their team is awful. They're in large part awful because of him. This bet should win. I thought really after 26-0 to the Texans, the team looked like they quit defensively at the end. I was like, all right, I'm going to get that. I just kept refreshing Twitter. I'm going to see the tweet. Sometimes Sunday night, Monday morning, Schefter, Rappaport, I'm going to see the tweet. He's going to be fired. You're going to catch this. Still nothing. I'm worried McDaniel and Canales, they're facing each other. One of them, the loser, gets fired, and I somehow don't win this ticket in a little offshore place. What do you call it? Wager on the internet. He's minus 275 now to be the first coach fired. So we'll see. But, man.
What's your number?
Will, I've seen this. I've seen the script. I hate to tell you, Zach Taylor's going to be fired about 30 minutes before Callahan Monday morning. How much is that going to hurt you when that happens? When they lose by 30 to the Lions and then he's out the door?
I'm prepared for the pain.
That would be honestly, Zach Taylor to me, if they get blown out, I think that's legitimate. That's a legitimate
case. I thought about
case,
that one too. Yeah.
But I do have to say, Gill, sorry, I have to do a mea culpa because I've been on your show. I do, the NFL preview, and I take a lot of pride in my sleeper picks every year, and I've done very well. And, I had Minnesota. I had Kevin O'Connell Coach of the Year last year, but I came on your show and said the Titans were going to go over their win total and be a playoff sleeper. And I need to take the big fat L on that. I need to put the clown suit on. That looks so bad. And I underestimated how bad of a coach Callahan really is. It's so bad. I'm ashamed. So I need to do that first and foremost.
Well, see, that's very honest of him coming on and admitting when he had one wrong. But so Callahan, just to review, we'll go through the Dumbo real quick. 4 weeks of NFL season. Remember the first game against the Broncos, he had the famous. He didn't challenge something where he said after the game, he goes, well, an elbow doesn't equal 2 feet, when in fact it does. There was that. Then there was that other game against the Colts where he set up for the 260-plus yard field goal attempts towards the end of the first half, setting it up for like a short fields for the Colts. And finally on the second one, they're like, sure, we'll take the field goal in the short field. Thanks very much, which was just like not winning football. This past week, this won't sound as bad, but if you had the Texans in Survivor like I did, it just screamed off the screen, which was it was a 6-0 game, one score game in the third quarter. And the Texans missed a 54-yarder. I believe Fairbairn missed a 54-yarder. Don't hold me to 54. Might have been 56, but I think 54. And so they had great field position. Tennessee did. Again, one-score game, second half. 3rd and 12 in plus territory. And they run the ball right into the line and punt. And you're just like, is this guy even – are we even trying at this point? Are we even paying attention? And I guess he was setting up for a play on 4th down if they got yardage, but it was just another one of these Brian Callahan things where you're like, this guy is just, it's as a guy who had the Texans as a survivor, you were like, oh, we're winning. There's no issue anymore. They're not even competitive here. The other one, and I think this might trump him this week. Todd, you'll remember this because you made note of it. So the Steelers are playing overseas. They're playing the Vikings. And remember, the Steelers went out to this big 24-3 lead. I remember, late third quarter to go get food because the full schedule was coming on in about an hour. I'm like, well, this game's over. And thank goodness they had the game on where I went to get food because I'm like, oh, here come the Vikings, Will's Minnesota Vikings. And so finally it gets from 24-3 to 24-21. And where is it exactly? I want to make sure I have the exact point. Yes. Okay. So Pittsburgh, after an onside kick failed, they're up 3 points. Minnesota has 1 timeout left and the 2-minute warning. So Pittsburgh ends up taking over with 2:07, Minnesota 49. After the onside kick fails, they get it to 4th and inches at the Minnesota 40, up 3 with 1:08 left. And Tomlin punts. That's so great. I mean, what are we doing? And it's a touchback, right? So it was like a 21-yard net. Now, Minnesota did not end up matriculating the ball down the field and tying it or winning it. So Tomlin got bailed out. But that's the winner of Dumbo of the week, isn't it?
Well, I have Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence did something just unbelievably stupid, and it didn't cost them a game, but it could have cost them the game. There was 2:43 to go. San Francisco had used up their last timeout before that play. It was 2nd and 11. And so Lawrence runs the ball himself and runs out of bounds. Yes. Now, he could have, if he stays in bounds there, probably the play clock starts and they don't even have to make a 3rd down play until after the 2-minute warning. But because of that, they had to run the 3rd down play. They got lucky, got the 1st down on 3rd and 5 on a short pass to Long for 8 yards, and then they were able to kneel it out. But had they not made that 3rd down, you now have a situation where the Niners would have had the ball, or, who knows what they would have done at that point. From the 42, they probably would have had to punt 3rd, 4th, and 5. Maybe they would have kicked the field goal. I don't know what they would have done. But the point is, they could have lost the game. And because of the fact that they got bailed out, but still, how are you a quarterback of an NFL team and the other team has no timeouts? It's all about the time, and you just gack it in your brain and go out of bounds? Like, what is going on? I just don't understand it.
Especially for a quarterback that's played as long as he has now, right? It's not like he's a rook or anything like that. But by the way, it was a 2nd down play, and Trevor just runs out of bounds to make it 3rd and 5 at the San Francisco 42. Now, he did complete a pass to Hunter Long on the next play that got the 1st down. But to your point, Todd, you could even see Lawrence smiling because he knew it completely bailed out his gaffe.
It's unbelievable.
I would just throw in the Jaguars collectively, because there was about 4 other mental gaffes by the Jaguars in that win, by the way. They beat the Niners. But remember the very first kickoff return. So the Niners scored to make it 3-0. The ensuing kickoff, this is early in the game. Remember that kid, LeQuint Allen Jr., fielded the kickoff on the fly and just ran right out of bounds at the 12? He did that. And then on that drive, Trevor went to Brian Thomas Jr., who ran short of the sticks and then didn't even take the care to put his 2 feet in bounds. So that's 4 collectively, because Brian Thomas had 2 on that one play. And then there was another one at the end of the first half, which he didn't even bring up with Lawrence, where it was 2nd and 5 at the San Francisco 9 with 15 seconds left in the second quarter. They had 2 shots at the end zone. But instead, no timeouts. But instead, Lawrence went underneath in the middle of the field to Etienne, so they had to quickly run to the line of scrimmage and spike it to get the field goal. So that's 5 mental errors, 2 by Lawrence, 2 by Thomas, 1 by the kickoff returner. So maybe the Jaguars collectively win Dumbo of the week, and they still won, by the way. So maybe that's
it's funny because you mentioned the kickoff, and Cleve is one of the people that I love watching. I go on Twitter and I see Cleve has all these cool charts and stats of like, best EPA or turnovers or this or that. There's like charts of the different teams. He's one of like about 5 different accounts that have really good chart stats. And I'm wondering, where are the chart stats for kickoffs? Because especially in that Packers Cowboys game, you really got a feel for how important these kickoffs are starting to become. The Packers were starting on their own 44 every time. The Packers were starting their own 22. Cowboys were starting their own 44 in every drive. And these kickoffs start to become more and more important. I would love to see, I haven't seen one of these charts yet for where you're starting after the kickoff, but I think that would be an interesting one. Cleve has some other really good ones on Twitter as well.
Well, I'll tell you the two best kickoff teams who are really taking advantage of the new rules in terms of how to kind of position the kicks are the Rams and the Panthers, and they're doing it intentionally too. So I know the Panthers. My buddy Eric Eager from used to be with PFF. He's a director of analytics there. I mean, that is an intentional way because he knows that it's a handful of yards every single time that you can create, a little bit of value. They've intentionally made it so that the kickoff is difficult. And I know the Rams kicker, Cardi's, is really good at kind of that knuckle.
You're talking defending. Ball. You're talking about defending the kick, right? And then what about also the teams like Dallas that are getting amazing kickoff returns?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge advantage, especially when you have a kicker like Aubrey, where you just got to get the midfield. So having Turpin back there returning, he's a dynamic returner, is huge. But honestly, if you catch the ball in the end zone, you absolutely have to take a knee. I mean, to get the 35-yard line, no matter what, is an automatic. So I think some of it is, just who your returner is, but then also, who's kicking off to you. Like, are you facing those kickers that know what they're doing, or are they just doing the standard, normal kickoff that we've seen in the past? And you could take advantage of those mistakes. So some of it's just a function of who they're facing too.
Todd, if I asked you a trivia question, who do you think has the best average kickoff return? What player in the NFL has the best average kickoff return yardage thus far this year?
Is it the Dallas Turpin kid?
No. Deebo Samuel, Washington Commanders. Deebo Samuel, like north of 35 yards per
Willie,
return.
would you have guessed that, Willie?
No, I was going to say Turpin, like you said. And I will say, we mentioned Eric Eager, who got hired by the Panthers. One of these teams is going to hire Steve Fezzik as their special teams coach because he has a lot of thoughts and opinions, kickoffs, punch strategy, Dumbo receivers who don't turn and catch the ball. So,
Willie, are you supposed to catch? Willie, he has some advanced analytics on whether you're supposed to catch the ball at the 2-yard line as a punt returner. Is that a yes or a no?
It's a no unless you play for the New York Jetropolitans, who
I see.
The ball at the 2, which
By the way,
I thought was an interesting
on college football
decision.
I watch college football all day on Saturday. I saw a guy catch a punt in the end zone. I have never seen that before. In the end zone. I thought if Stevie saw it, he might blow a gasket out of his head.
Did he run it out, or was he fair catching it? What was he doing?
He ran it out. He caught the ball in the end. It was unbelievable.
You know what we need? We need they say wherever the punt returner is standing, just don't go backwards past the 10-yard line. If you just stand at the 10, just don't go backwards, right? So they need to have a shot collar, like those invisible fences where if the returner starts going backwards, they just get shocked and they just know to stop. That is the only way. I don't understand how these guys. It happens all the time. It's just stand at the 10 and don't move back. If you have to move back, then run away. It's the easiest formula, and these guys continually, ignore it. And I just can't understand it.
It's always been the rule: 10-yard line, plant yourself, don't go back. And then all of a sudden, in the last 5 years, it's where everybody forgot it at the same time. And
I don't know if it's even worth it to put a returner back there. I mean, we haven't seen as many muffs this year, but I remember there was a stretch, maybe it was last year or the year before, where I get to the point where there were so many fumbles and muffs or these guys just catching it inside their own 5 yards. Is this even worth it to put a guy on the return. Just say, you know what, let the ball roll wherever it rolls. I know you don't want it being down inside the 5 or whatever, but it seems like more harm that happens than good on these punt returns.
But not anymore. Right? You were right for a period of years, but this year in 4 weeks, we've seen so many great punt returns that set teams up on short field.
Did you know the rule when the Bengals punted to the Broncos the other night and the guy was catching the punt on a fair catch, he bobbled it like 2 times and
weird.
It like went into the belly of the Bengals defender, and they called kick catch interference. Thank God, because I had Bengals not to score in the third quarter. But what is the rule as to if you call a fair catch and you bobble?
You're allowed to catch it.
It's a fumble.
You're allowed to catch it.
Yeah, but it depends how much room. Are you saying, Todd, if it was a legal amount of space between him and the defender, and
it's kind of what happened. If you saw the play, what happened was he kind of bobbled it forward, but he was still bobbling it in the air, and then because he kind of had moved forward with the bobble, it landed sort of in the Bengals guy's belly. And then he tried to snatch it, and the Bengals guy snatched it away from him. And I don't know what the rule is. If you call a fair catch and you bobble the ball, are you still allowed to catch it as long as it doesn't hit the ground?
So that they made a judgment call that he was still in the normal process of making a catch as one would on a punt return, and therefore his, like, without using the word, right? We talk about this word in basketball. His cylinder was impeded. So if he had, like, I think what Cleve was getting at, if he fumbles it forward way past his body, you can't call catch interference, right? But it's a fumble. Yeah, but
it's just like a muff. You can muff a fair catch, but if he's too close, like Gill's saying, then it's interference. So as long as there's enough space, in between, it should be a fumble.
I think you get immunity. If you call for a fair catch, you basically get immunity until the ball hits the ground. So as long as you're juggling it, the defender has to give you room until juggle it. Like it is, as long as you don't drop the ball, you're okay. So in the middle of the juggle, there was collision, and that's on the defender. So you kind of have some protections once you call for that fair catch, or as long as you don't drop it, even if you bobble it a couple of times, you're allowed to complete the catch.
Oh, that's interesting.
Meanwhile, in the other game, I considered that game to be, and I am not this guy, but I just want to say it because I said it on the radio side, I want to say it in the podcast, that Dolphins-Jets game was the most one-sided officiating, blunder-filled game I've ever seen in my life against the Jets. That was insane. Like, there were the OPI was questionable. Fields getting hit out of bounds by Judon was, very questionable. But like the ones that were not questionable were, and the Tua slide, the late Mahomes-ish slide where they got flagged from everywhere, I guess you could question that. But the ones that are not, the 3 that were not, Chop Robinson being 1.5 yards offsides, Ruckert at the 2-minute warning getting pounded on the ground at least 2 beats after the play was over.
The guy ran 40 yards and hit him, and they didn't call it.
No flag? What am I watching? And the offsides, remember I texted the group, I'm like, was that not offsides? And Felica was like, it looked like it to me. And then the other one was the Jets center having his head ripped off, the helmet coming completely off his head. They're like, nah, we didn't see it. So I don't know. It's a weird Monday night of football.
Can I? Is it too late to add one more Dumbo? I couldn't believe it. I thought you were for sure going to bring it up. Matt LaFleur. Okay. Now I didn't have Green Bay in Survivor, but I'm sure a lot of people were screaming at the top of their lungs when they got the ball down to. They were down to the 12-yard line. In overtime. And I understand they were nervous about, okay, we don't want to score we don't want to kick a field goal and then give Aubrey a chance to kick a 70-yarder, which he probably could. So they wanted to take it down to essentially the last play. But I mean, they were moving the ball up and down the field. They got 6.5 yards per play in that game. Like they did whatever they wanted. They get down to the 12-yard line with about 45 seconds and a timeout. And they went swing pass and just taking their time, swing pass, another dump off. And then obviously they just got lucky at the end with that incompletion in the end zone. Like, I mean, it's like these coaches get to the point where they get to field goal range and they just say, all right, I'm happy with the field goal. They have to try to score. Now, I guess maybe LaFleur just wanted the tie. He was okay with the tie because I guess, he figures that they're going to essentially make the play. That helps them make the playoffs. But I don't know. Like if I was a Packer fan or if I had them in Survivor, I would have gone crazy because they had every opportunity to just keep going over the middle of the field and trying to score, and they were just going sideways for some reason, and it was just way too cautious. So that would have been I like LaFleur, but I just felt like he coached really scared at the end.
They kind of admitted it after the game, though, both he and Love. They kind of admitted, like, yeah, because you're right. We understand the theory was leave as little time because obviously the Cowboys have the biggest weapon of them all in Aubrey, so that if we do end up having to kick a field goal to tie the game and they get the ball back, we want to leave as little time as possible. So that was the calculus. But you're right, and they admitted as such. I think it was 28 seconds when they called the timeout, and then they just after they ran the next play, you could hear the panic in Tirico and Collinsworth's voice as it was going. They're like, you have to leave enough time for the field goal. What are we doing? And 1 second left they could have lost the game outright, right? By just, who knows what happens if the ball gets tipped in the air or, somehow the play extends even one more second and then they just lose outright. You're absolutely right.
And I think Willie had plus 340 both ways, right, Willie?
Oh,
yeah,
brutal.
the money line both ways. I couldn't complain too much because I had tie third quarter, then I had overtime like plus 550. So I did well in the game, but I was sitting there and I was texting you guys in the group chat. I was like, plus 325 for this kind of game seems kind of high. And then they scored right away. I was like, well, plus 325 the other way seems kind of high. And just needed somebody to win. But that was a good live betting game regardless.
Todd, who's the winner? Dumbo of the week. Just name one. Who's the winner?
I want to go with Trevor Lawrence. He annoys the hell out of me.
No.
Okay, there you go. There it is.
He picks the guy in the team that won. Incredible.
It's his podcast.
You have to fall down, Cleve. You have to fall down. Come on.
I know. I had the Jags. I'm with you, but they won the game at least. So that's
okay. Tomlin, then it's Tomlin.
It's Tomlin too. There you go. Okay, we're ready for the best. Oh no, Thursday night football tonight between the Rams and the Niners. We will go the entire year. We may go years in the NFL where we will not have a week where two games, not one but two, have moved dramatically. And by dramatically, I mean the Ravens have moved from a 9.5 point favorite all the way to a 1.5 point dog, an 11-point swing, because not only is Lamar Jackson hurt, but they have injuries everywhere. Matabuke out for the year. Obviously, Roquan as well is huge. I know Stanley and Humphrey got banged up last week as well. I mean, they are a mash unit. And then this game tonight, Thursday Night Football, when I was doing, hey, Todd, have I ever mentioned guessing lines before? When I was doing guessing lines
What
Monday.
is this guessing lines on Monday thing? You mention it once in a while.
Yeah, it's on this feed. It was 3.5. I couldn't, first of all, we knew nothing of the extent of the Niners' injuries. I couldn't believe it was only 3.5 in favor of the Rams. I think the Rams are a demonstrably better team than the Niners. It was 5.5 by afternoon, because then we heard about Purdy. So it was 5.5 after the show, and then we heard about Purdy and all the rest of these guys. So no Purdy tonight for the Niners, no Juwan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall. I believe there's another wide receiver who's also out. Now,
George Kittle's out too.
George Kittle obviously is out. We know that.
London Breed.
London Breed is the former mayor of San Francisco, I believe.
She's out too.
She's out as well. He's out as well. It's a good call. Jordan Watkins is who I was getting at. London Breed. It's a very good mayoral knowledge by you. That's great. So it's, long story short, it's 9. This game is a 9-point spread. Does anybody have a best bet in this game tonight, or any thoughts on this game now that it's 9? Anyone?
I do.
No, I mean, no. I have 3, and I took the Rams 3.5 like you, Gil, Monday morning, just because only reason is I thought that I saw the Ricky Pearsall couldn't, like, his knee had no stability. I had heard that, and I had the Jags in that Sunday game, and I saw Juwan Jennings get crunched on the 2-point conversion and didn't come back. And I just thought to myself, on a short week, like, this line's going to move up once 1 or 2 are going to be announced out. And then obviously I didn't know about Purdy. So I think we're talking about 9 points here. Like, unless the Niners are just going to wave the white flag, and maybe, you don't overwork McCaffrey. I had a tweet yesterday, but I got some flack for it. Some people agree with me. I said at this point, like, you've got McCaffrey coming off those major injuries. It's a short week. He leads the NFL in touches, of course, because that's all they do is give him the ball. I mean, it is a recipe for disaster to give the guy another 30 touches on this short week this week in a game where you're 8-9 point underdogs. I know the NFL teams don't think like this and they're not going to do it. It's just me kind of thinking out loud. But man, like if they're getting blown out early, I could just see them wave the white flag. And, if you're talking about your live action, Todd, I really do think that there's a chance they can pull the plug early on this thing. And it can snowball at the end. But I would not touch anything because of that.
I said the same thing earlier in the week. Like, there's a scenario where they just decide at some point. They won't, obviously announce this or make their intentions known. You will be able to tell, right, that they're just punting on the rest of this because what in the world? Like sometimes this just happens and you got to like take the L. Will, did you say you do have a play on this?
Yeah, I'm going to go under 43.5. Like you guys said, it's going to be pretty much just McCaffrey. And McCaffrey hasn't been anything as a runner this year. 3.3 yards per carry, only 225 yards over the first 4 games. It's just a lot of dump offs to him. And when you can gang up on him, I just don't see how they're effective. The Rams 8th in success rate defensively. 49ers, I think, have played pretty well defensively. They're 10th in success rate. And I would love more than anything from a betting standpoint. I prefer San Francisco team total under 17.5. I could see this game starting and a couple drives in. Todd texts us, 49ers team total under, and probably have moved by then. I don't see how the 49ers do their part. Rams have a really good front. To me, this has, 24-10 or something like that written all over it. I think the Rams really stifle and stymie this 49ers offense. So I will go under the 43.5.
And I will say, wow. Sorry, real quick, I just want to follow up on that. McVay is a very conservative coach. When they go up,
great point.
Again, Todd will know this. He sits on the ball a lot. Like, he does not try to push the envelope like some other coaches. So that is, if they get up, I think it's just the second half is right for an under too, if you're looking for in game.
Also, I was saying, like, how this is why trends bother me sometimes. You know how, like, for a while everyone was like, "Oh, Shanahan owns McVay." And then once he doesn't quite own, nobody ever mentions the trend again. They're like, "Oh, never mind. We didn't ever talk about that." Shanahan, the head-to-head record is 10-6, but the Rams swept the Niners last year, and the Rams won the only playoff game between these two teams on the way to the Rams Super Bowl title a few years back. So nobody ever talks about Shanahan ownage anymore over Sean McVay after the sweep last year. Todd, anything? Nothing on this?
No, I just wanted to do my in-game thing here because I did something really smart that I think people, once in a while, I do something smart that people would enjoy on the in-game. The Bills and the Saints were playing last week. It was early fourth quarter. The score was 21-16. And this was either right before the Saints were going to get the ball or right before the Bills were going to, I can't remember. I think it was right before the Bills were going to get the ball. So there's 37 points and the over under is right around 50.5. And at some places they have the alternate total still open. So you can play 49.5 and pay up like it was. For in this case, it was like -125. So with the score 21-16, which is on 5, you've got a very good chance that you're going to have a 2-point conversion. If, for instance, the Saints get a touchdown and they would go up 22-21, they would obviously have to go for 2, and you could get stuck with a 6-point touchdown. And then back the other way, if Buffalo were to score, for instance, then they would have to go for 2, down by 1. To try to go up by 7. So you had a lot of scenarios there where you could lose your extra point. And I said, okay, you might as well take and there was also the possibility of a touchdown and 2 field goals, which is exactly what happened. And I said, you got to pay up -125 instead of like -110, whatever it is, to get under that 49.5. It's only 12.5 more points versus 13.5 or 14 more points. And you have to be aware of what the score is in these in-game bets, especially if you're playing the totals, as to where the 2-point conversions might happen and or touchdown, 2 field goals, etc. What ended up happening, of course, is the Bills got a touchdown to go up, or the Saints got a field goal, 21-19. The Bills got a touchdown to make it 28-19. And then, of course, the Bills had it deep in Saints territory. And if they were going to get the first down, I was going to lose, but they didn't. So they kicked the field goal and ended up winning by the 0.5 point. But that is just something you really have to keep an eye on, is places where you might want to buy up on a total because of where the score is.
Giants
I'm
went
sorry.
for 2 at the end of the third quarter, right? Against the Chargers. Did I see that?
Willie just loves to just rub it in. He just loves rubbing it in. He loves it. I had under 7.5 third quarter and a 13-10 halftime score. Chargers, Giants. There's 5 minutes to go third quarter. No one's even sniffed scoring a point. Interception. Giants get it all the way down. Big deal. No problem. There's only 2.5 minutes left. They get a touchdown. I got under 7.5. They'll kick an extra point to go up 20-10. But of course, a penalty ensues. And Dabo, the idiot, and Stevie Fezzik said I didn't explain why he was an idiot, but at 19-10, he decides he wants to go for 2 to go to 21-10. Now, I don't know why he did that, because if he misses the 2-point conversion, they're only up 9. To me, it sounds like a very, very stupid thing to do, but he did it, and he stuck it to me.
You're right. It's also a Dumbo of the week that we forgot about. So the reason he did it, right? But to your point, you're correct. And you're smart to have thought this, because I didn't think it in the moment. There was a penalty on the Chargers, right? So the ball went to the 1 yard line. So he immediately toggled, his brain immediately went to, well, it's at the 1 yard line. I got to go for 2 here, right? I mean, that's what you do when the ball's at the 1. But in fact, when you're up 9, it might not really be the smart thing to do. And they got stopped, right? So,
No, they got it.
I think they got it. Right.
To screw
Imagine
me.
if you don't. That's right.
Right.
Imagine if you don't. You're only up 9 at that point. All right. Best bets. TA, you have honors, Your Honor. What do you got? What's your first?
I am going to go with the Denver Broncos. I believe it's 3.5. Is that right?
Check.
I'll take a 4 if you got it, but I think it's 3.5.
3.5 is correct, sir.
3.5. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think just generally speaking, a lot's been talked about, the Eagles just not being as impressive, and it's really talk about outplaying your record, outplaying your actual metrics. I mean, this is based on some of the fourth quarter win share numbers that I look at. They're really playing like a 2.5 win team, not a 4 win team. Obviously, we know about the blocked field goal for a touchdown against the Rams, and Travis Kelce dropping an easy touchdown for KC, and then you even had Dallas with CeeDee Lamb with all those drops at the end of the game. Like, this team really could be 500, and I think maybe they are the Chiefs of last year, where they just they eke out all these games, which is fine. Like that's a sign of a smart team, a good team. They're going to always convert with the short yardage, but you're giving me a good Broncos team over a field goal. I'm going to take it. I mean, this is obviously one of the better defenses in the NFL. They've got Bo Nix has struggled this year, but he did have his best game of the year on Monday, and every single week he's seen improvements when you look at things like PFF grade, et cetera. And he started cold last year as well. So not that he's some great quarterback, but guys are schemed wide open by Sean Payton. He was just missing them a lot of times, especially in that Chargers game. And so, if he just hits a couple of those, they did, I like the fact that RJ Harvey, the rookie from UCF, got a bunch of work last week. That's a nice 1-2 punch with J.K. Dobbins. And I just think that this is, when I go on the road against a good team, what I'd like to see is a good offensive line. And Denver, by all metrics, has an elite offensive line when you look at, pass block grade, run block grade, all those sorts of things. So, that's not going to be an issue. And so I just think, from that perspective, this Eagles offense just isn't the same. I mean, they're 17th in success rate. They're 20th on dropbacks. Obviously, a lot of the positive stuff is just from the tush push, all of those plays. So if you kind of exclude those, they're really a below average offense right now. And you're going to have, it'd be nice to feed A.J. Brown, but you're going to have Patrick Surtain covering them. So, and Saquon Barkley's just averaging 3.1 yards per carry. He has no rushes over 16 yards this year, which is incredible after all the stuff, all the big plays he had last year. The pass block, the run blocking is not good. They're 31st in yards before contact on offense, and this is just not the same team. So do I think Denver's going to win? I'm not sure, but I don't need them to win here. I just need another close loss, and, absent some flukiness with special teams, et cetera. I think the Broncos are in a good spot to cover that 3.5. So give me Denver here.
Denver plus 3.5. Eagles with 200 total yards of offense last week in their win against the Buccaneers. 200. AJ Brown has pushed. What's the expression? Walked back his comments, but I think we get it. He was frustrated. He said as much. All right, Todd. Stay tuned for the Yom Kippur Massacre story, everybody. Todd, go ahead. What's your pick?
Look, I look at these games. I don't like any of these games, but okay, here's what I'm going to do. What do you got the line in the Buffalo Bills game? The Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Billiards are 7. Oh, no, almost done. Buffalo Bills, which, by the way, and let me just say that Buffalo Bills are 8 consensus 8-point favorites now hosting the Patriots. By the way, when we're talking about tonight's game, the Rams, I have 6 Survivor entries in Circa. I think I'm using 2 of them on the Rams tonight. And Cleve, this looks like a good organic time to mention. You have as part of your stuff, you have a Survivor tool that people can use. Where can they get that?
Yeah, if you go to just cleveanalytics.com, if you just want kind of Survivor stuff, there's a separate section there. Yeah, there's an optimizer tool. So essentially it takes whatever type of pool you're in, whatever, large, small pools, Circa Survivor rules, whatever, with Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. You can just add whatever teams you've used. And you can, say, I want to use these teams at these certain weeks and kind of lock them in and then just optimize for, the best path. So you've got that. And then I just write up articles every week on, the different options, maybe some contrarian options. And so this week I did discuss the Rams. Obviously, their win probability continuing to rise. Do you think it's a really nice look, with LA? And so they do have a little bit of future value. I know in a couple of weeks they face the Saints. So look, the one thing I tell people is, I can give kind of general analysis, but really, there are certain teams that are handcuffed to certain weeks and other teams. And so make sure you can map out like, hey, if I use the Rams this week, when are the other weeks if they are a very strong option? And do I have other teams in those weeks available to make up for that? So that'd be my only piece of advice. But generally speaking, I do think the Rams are a good option because I do think that generally speaking, Thursday night football games are picked lower than usual. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's just more of, just from what I've gathered is they don't have the same level of pick percentages as like a Sunday game. I think people are scared off and also in division. So maybe you get a little bit of leverage there because they're not going to be picked as much as normally. So I do agree that's a good spot.
It's amazing. I do a Survivor segment every Tuesday and I go through, here are the big favorites and here's who I'm considering, who I'm not. And I show future value and that sort of thing. It is consistently the most viewed video we have on the VSiN YouTube page week after week after week. People love Survivor in a way that they don't like everything else. Sorry, Todd, to interrupt. I know I don't want to break the flow, but Buffalo, call that to mind because on a couple other entries, I still have Buffalo left. So I'm going to use them on a couple others as well. Go ahead.
Well, on Guessing Lines on Monday, when I wasn't listening to it, I was thinking about the Patriots plus 8 points at the Buff Bills. I'm going to take the Patriots. Now, you're going to say, what? You're going to take the Patriots? The Patriots, they stink, right? Well, I don't know how good the Patriots are, actually. I think they're pretty decent, but this is really an anti-Buffalo pick. The New Orleans game was much closer than people would like to believe. I had the Bills in Survivor, and my sphincter was tightening there at 21-19. It was getting a little bit nervy there, and it's because this Buffalo defense, I don't like this Buffalo. Now, maybe the metrics don't have them as bad as I think they are. They're not good. Okay. And the Saints should not be moving the ball up and down the field on you at will if you're a good defensive team. Miami moved the ball up and down the field on them and would have had the ball down 7 in that game or would have been tied. I forget what it was, but it was something because they got that punt. The punt got there was a roughing the punter. But the point is that Miami was hanging right in the game with them. Sure, they beat the Jets, but that was with Fields. And then the Baltimore game, they gave up 8 billion points. So to me, I don't see why the Patriots can't score enough to hang in plus 8. I feel like in the NFL, the only way to cover these big spreads is if you have a good defense because you have to keep the other team out at the end on the backdoor touchdowns. I mean, you can be ahead 15 points in a game and you're screwed because you can sometimes even be ahead, even more than that. And you're screwed because in the fourth quarter, you get all these backdoor touchdowns. So, and I think the Patriots offense is certainly, look, they scored 42 against Carolina. They only scored 14 against Pittsburgh. But if you look at whatever they were supposed to get without the 5 turnovers, they would have scored 30 points in that game. They scored 33 against Miami. The only really bad game they've had is that Vegas game, the first game of the year. To me, the Pats are not a team you want to just say, oh, yeah, sure, we could beat them by 1 million. I doubt it. I think the Bills defense is not good enough to win by margin. Give me Pats +8. There
it is. Pats +8, the man says. Yeah, your sphincter was very tight on that game. That's why, they were what, 15.5 point favorites, the Bills were. And everyone was like, don't overthink it, just take the Bills. Blah, blah. It's like nothing is a free bingo square in the NFL. Nothing. And the Bills, until they broke it off, but the Saints had the ball with a chance to lead, I believe, at one point in that.
That was a tricky call, too. That could have easily been a touchdown. They called it. I guess some part of the ball hit something, but if that was a touchdown, who knows? And Bills probably still win, but that was
the Brandon Cooks play, yeah. Yeah. Willie, what do you got first?
No, it's your turn, Gilly.
It's me? Oh, yeah, because Willie already did his. So I get 2, right?
Right.
2. I am going with so the Rams is done. We can't do that because, again, I have it 3.5 as TA does, but that's not a play anymore. The Chiefs are what now? 3.5, sadly, no longer 3. I made that play at 3, but I will still play it at 3.5 just because of what we talked about earlier and we listed. I won't list them again. The Jaguars do this on a week-to-week basis. Maybe they don't have 5 of them, but they are the most, what's your term, buttoned down? Or most
unbuttoned. They're an unbuttoned team. I like a buttoned-up team.
You like a buttoned.
I like when a team's buttoned up. They don't turn the ball over. They don't make mistakes. UConn basketball is a buttoned up club.
I don't think I just think that's like part of their DNA. And I think the Chiefs, again, with Xavier Worthy, showed last week against the Ravens. Say what you will about the Ravens. I think the Chiefs showed, oh, that's right. We have players that are hurt, and when they come back, we're still going to be the Chiefs. I think it's a road game, and I'm laying points, and it's more than 3 now. I still think the Chiefs are a vastly better football team than the Jaguars. I do not trust the Jaguars. And speaking of Survivor, whenever it will come down to having the Jaguars, that will be the scariest proposition of them all because they will shoot themselves in the foot. So I'll take the Chiefs here -3.5 as pick number 1. And then pick number 2, I'm going back to the aforementioned New Orleans Saints in a horrible football game hosting the Giants. I am taking the Saints.
I thought about taking them too.
I am taking the Saints. And the reason I'm taking the Saints is just because I feel like, with the exception of the one game where they got blown out by Seattle, they have comported themselves pretty well. Like they lost to Arizona week 1, very easily could have won. Remember, there was that pass to Juwan Johnson, I believe, in the end zone where he somehow dropped it that could have tied the game and forced overtime. San Francisco, they lost by 5 points, easily could have won that game. I think there was a late fumble that gave the Niners that game, if I'm not mistaken, 26-21. Oh, excuse me. Against the Niners. That's right. Spencer Rattler. The Saints had the ball at the Niners 42 with a chance to win that game, and Spencer Rattler got sacked, I think, by Bosa and fumbled. And then this Buffalo Bills game, which, again, they had the ball. They had multiple chances at this. And we're playing neck and neck with Buffalo until they weren't at the very end. But remember, they had a double dip opportunity in that game against Buffalo, and they botched both ends of it, where they could have taken a lead. They botched the first half badly, and in the second half, they just couldn't do anything with it.
Did you like them at Seattle?
What's that?
Did you like their performance at Seattle?
That was a lot of special teams,
Todd, that was the very first thing I said. So again, pay closer attention. I know you didn't. You said you didn't see guessing lines. Maybe it's time you do, though. Maybe it's time you paid attention. So
I lied. I actually listened to guessing lines on a loop the entire Monday.
on half X, just so you could listen to it slower. So I'm going with the Saints. I'm laying it against the Giants. Jackson Dart looked pretty good, but I have never been a fan of Daboll. I think he is one of the more overrated. He gets the coach of the year stuff was nonsense a couple years ago. Again, he got credit for the Giants' performance on both offense and defense in high leverage situations. If you ever watch, I am at first person to admit the Hard Knocks where they showed him talking to all the young quarterbacks when they were considering drafting the Jaden Daniels and Bo Nixes of the world and on and on. Caleb was on there as well. I'm not a fan. I actually think the Saints get off the schneid. I think they have a lot of confidence playing well against good teams. I think the Saints win this ball game.
What's the line, Willie, that we're giving him on this?
I think 1.5.
1.5, bro.
Okay.
Gilly,
Saints -1.5.
I have a quick bone to pick with you. You know I had Dable at 20-1. I gave it out multiple times on a numbers game, like right before the end of the season, middle of the season. You keep saying he's overrated. Do you want me to give the money back? Because I'm not going to. I'm not giving the money back. You keep saying this. I feel like it's a shot at me. You want me to keep can I keep it?
You're allowed to keep it.
Yeah, well, I had it as well. I put in my preview a couple of years ago. So, yeah, I feel like the shot's fired at both of us right now.
100%. It's personal.
We don't vote on the award, Gil. We just bet based on who we think is going to win. Yeah, we handicap the voters here.
We handicap the voters. That's the way to do it. Stupid voters. Now. All right, Will, what's next?
I'm going to go under 36.5. Minnesota Vikings, Cleveland Browns. Just look at the injuries here for Minnesota on the offensive line. Donovan Jackson, starting left guard, out. Kelly, probably out. O'Neal, probably out. And that's behind or in front of Carson Wentz, who does not play well under pressure. You've got a nasty defensive line for Cleveland with Garrett and company. And then on the other side of the ball, you got Dylan Gabriel making his first career start against Brian Flores. I think both teams come into this game and say, you know what, let's not turn it over. Let's not turn it over for points, which with a total this low, you can certainly get burned by defensive scores and turnovers leading to points. That's the risk I'm taking. But barring that, and I do think both coaches will be conservative, barring that, Minnesota, first in defensive success rate here this season. I think Cleveland will just try to run the ball. I think Minnesota will look to protect that offensive line and protect Wentz and run the ball. To me, this has, I don't know, 13-10 or something. I think this is a really low-scoring game, an ugly game. Barring just an outpouring of points defensively off of turnovers, I don't see how you get to 37 points. I will go under 36.5 Cleveland and Minnesota, which should be just a lot of fun to watch Sunday morning.
And I see 36. Is there 36.5 out there?
You're talking about the Minnesota game, I see 36, correct. There's it's 36 primarily. Yeah, 36. What did you say, Will?
36.5, but 36 is fine.
Yeah, 36. Consensus. Good catch, Todd. Don't let him get away with it.
We can't let this guy, go on a monster winning streak to turn 2-10 into 20-10. And then what are we going to do?
What are we going to say at that point? All right, Dottie, it's up to you.
I almost decided. I have that written. I wrote down 5 games because I hate all of them, but that was one of mine was under 36 in Browns. But I think I'll decide if I want to do them later. Let me just take. You know what? I'm going to take the Browns. I'm going to take the Browns in this one. It's plus 3.5, right? Looks like 3.5 everywhere. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Browns plus 3.5. I know Dylan Gabriel or Mike McCarthy or whoever's being the quarterback. To me, Flacco is not any good. And how much worse can Dylan Gabriel be? The Browns defense has really been outstanding all year. They shut down the Packers. You know what? They played well against the Detroit Lions. I'll be honest with you. Early in the fourth quarter, I took the Browns plus 13 when the Browns were losing 20-10 directly before the punt return touchdown, which was about as dumb a place as you could possibly bet it. But really, those last 2 touchdowns were kind of gifts from special teams and an interception. To me, the Browns were hanging in there defensively against the Lions on the road. We saw what they did to the Packers. We saw what they did to Cincinnati with Burrow in week 1. And even against the Ravens in the game they got blown out, it wasn't because their defense didn't play well. It was because of all the turnovers. So if they can just tell Dylan Gabriel, buddy, listen, whatever you do, game manage, no turnovers. Just if we have to, we're going to run it 3 times and punt the ball and let our defense do it. Now, this Minnesota offensive line is absolutely positively horrible at this point with all those guys injured. And that's why I took the Steelers third quarter in the in-game, in the Ireland game. You could see they couldn't block the Steelers at all. And the Steelers defense isn't that great anymore, guys. This is not the Yinzers of yesteryear down there where you used to charge $1 million parking and stop everybody. They can't stop anything. The Steelers aren't a good defense, and they made Minnesota look terrible because of that offensive line. So you're telling me now the Brownies, the Cleve Brownies are down in England England, Tottenham Spurs Stadium down there, and you think the Brownies are not going to be able to slow down a Carson Wentz-led offense? I don't see it, folks. 3.5's a lot of points if you've got a great defense like the Brownies. Give me the Brownies plus 3.5.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You okay? You all right? TA, you got 2 in a row here. You're second and third.
Oh man, do agree. This is a tough week. I am going to go with the Jets. I think they're 2.5. Unfortunately, it was 3 a couple days ago, but I'll take the 2.5. I think they went out right here. I tweeted it earlier, so maybe you guys saw this. But if you had to guess, if I said where do the Jets rank in the NFL from a net success rate standpoint? So you take your offense, your defense, and kind of a net basis, just success rate. So on a down-to-down basis, where do you think the Jets rank?
I'll say 15.
I would have said right around 20th. I would have said, but clearly because you're asking, it's way better than we think.
Third in the NFL.
What?
They're third in the NFL.
And this is where stats lie, Cleve. They're not third in the NFL. I understand what you're saying. They are not third in the NFL in anything. Wow, okay. But go on.
Okay, so of course they're not the third best team in the NFL. I'm just trying to highlight. So do you know how many turnovers the Jets have generated this year?
0. I know that one.
The answer is 0. And so the point is, you saw what happened on Monday night. That was the epitome of the Jets season so far. Like they move up and down the field and then they fumble right as they're crossing the goal line, right? Like the constant mistakes, the penalties. The penalties are just one of those things. I don't know if they're a well-coached team or not, but the flukiness of those turnovers, they're not getting any turnovers at all on defense. They've forced, I think, 6 fumbles and they haven't recovered any of them. So they're actually getting the ball to the ground and they're just getting the unlucky bounce. And then on offense, they've lost a bunch of turnovers. I think Tyrod Taylor against Tampa allowed a pick 6. Like there's just a lot of stuff that is just not going their way. But just on a down-to-down basis, like they're moving the football and they're doing a good job. I mean, they outgained Miami by like 19% from a success rate standpoint. It was pretty ridiculous that they didn't win that game. And look, I had the over in that game, so I was watching it pretty intently and I just couldn't believe it. So just generally speaking, I think this Jets team is better than the numbers indicate. And so I think there's some value there. And I just think of the other side, you have a Dallas team that, that was their Super Bowl on Sunday night. And they were on the field a long time. That was like 80 plays on defense. So I think you can get a gas defense and a defense that is already pretty terrible. Like if I tell you, they're the worst defense in the NFL from an EPA standpoint. They've allowed 2 of the 12 worst EPA performances on defense in the NFL themselves. All 4 of their defensive performances are bottom 31 amongst all NFL games this year. They've allowed all 4 of their opponents to generate a positive EPA, and that's including 3 teams that have negative EPAs on the season against all other teams. Like the Giants with Russell Wilson, the Bears, they all had they're 2 of the 10 worst offenses in the NFL. They all had their best game. Actually, all 4 of their opponents have generated the best EPA in any game all season against the Cowboys. Like, it's just an atrocious defense already. They are going to be gassed. And then on offense, they've got 2 offensive linemen already out in their center, Beebe, and then Tyler Booker, their guard. And they've got 2 more that might not play. Tyler Smith is hurt, as well as Tyler Guyton. Both guys didn't practice yet so far. So they might be down 4 offensive linemen on top of everything else. And Turpin, who's obviously, as we talked about earlier, special teams wizard and a real weapon on offense, he may not play. So like you have a ton of injuries on offense. You have a banged up, or you just have a bad defense that's going to, is coming off a lot of plays. They're coming off their Super Bowl. How often do you get a team that's a 7-point home underdog? The next week are road favorites in the NFL. Like, you never see that. This is a complete overreaction, and I think it's an undervalued Jets team because of the 0-4, when in reality, they're more like a 2-2 team just based on the underlying metrics. So, yeah, maybe they'll make the gaffe at the end because they're the Jets, but I'm going to take the 2.5 points here.
That was a very thorough description. It makes me want to jump on the Jets too.
No, I like his pick, and I think he's 100% right about the Dallas defense. I just think the Jets offense, his stats are a little, how should I call it? Famished. Those statistics are a little famished in the sense that.
Yeah, tell me, because like what you remember against the Steelers, were they not really impressive? They scored 32 points. They moved up and down the field. They were terrible against Buffalo. Like that was their bad game.
I'll give you the Steelers. And they didn't do crap against Buffalo. Tyrod Taylor was the reason they were decent against Tampa Bay. I don't think Fields would have been. And I really don't look. I had the Jets +7 in that game, and I felt extremely fortunate to cover that spread. But I never really had confidence that old Fields. The only way I thought Fields was going to score was the way he did score on that one touchdown drive where he just turned and took off. But to me, they are not third on offense. That is just, there's no way they could be third on offense.
Okay, they're not third, right? The point is they're way better than people give them credit.
Well, that's why I said I agree with the pick. No, I agree with
Todd, I think that's the point. Yeah, I think directionally that's the point. Like I don't live, especially this small of a sample. I'm just think the point is like everyone looks at them as, oh, this is a bottom 3 to 5 team in the NFL, right? They're really not, just based on how they've played so far, I guess is the point. So we'll see. Again, there have been many times in the past where there are these teams, kind of like the Titans last year, where the underlying metrics looked a lot better than the actual results, and they just continually couldn't cover, and they would lose games. And that some teams are just built that way. So maybe that's them. But yeah, for now, I'm just gonna give it.
Yeah, I almost took the Jets this week too. I was like, there's no way I'm taking the Cowboys. Forget that.
And I would argue that drive where they ended up with a fumble inside the 5, they were gashing the Dolphins, and then the officiating thing happened. Like you almost have to throw out that game against the Dolphins as well. I feel so. There you go.
So Clevta gets to go again.
Third and final play here, TA.
Oh man, I'm having problems. I'm actually gonna.
Do you want time, and we'll go? We'll skip you and come back.
No, I'll go. I'm going to go against Gill's pick. I'm going to take the Jags 3.5.
Oh.
I like the hook here. I mean, the Chiefs, like I know that last week looked great, but just prior to last week, everybody was talking about, is this Chiefs team cooked? Like it's just 1 week completely changes the narrative. And I know that Xavier Worthy helps that. I think the Jags are better than people are giving them credit for. That they have generated a ton of turnovers, which is funny because they led the NFL in, or they only had 9 turnovers the entire season last year. I wrote about this in my preview. It was the lowest amount, I think, in 6 years in the NFL. And then now they lead the NFL with 13 turnovers forced already, 4 more than the entire season last year. So yeah, some people might say that's not sustainable, but it's really just flipping on what happened last year. So maybe it is sustainable. I don't know. But even if you strip out those turnovers, they're still a top 5 defense based on success rate, which doesn't take into account, the impact of turnovers, just, down to down metrics. So they play pretty well on defense. They've got a good pass rush. I think offensively, they're protecting Trevor Lawrence well. They're running the football, which they had never done. Liam Cohn brought that same, that system from Tampa. That we saw Bucky Irvin really explode, last year on. So I think they've got a nice running game. And I just think the Chiefs are one of those teams, they just like to get out with a win. I mean, they're not trying to blow you out. They're still not the most explosive team in the NFL. Like they do just enough to win. And so, for me, I think you're getting a little bit of extra value with the 3.5. And again, in a normal week, I probably wouldn't love this pick, but I'm trying to find 3 picks here. So I'll just take the home dog value here with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags.
TA, I'm going to beat you on 2 Jacksonville mental errors. That's what it's going to come down to. You'll be right in theory, but then I will get the error to go my way. It's a mental gaffe, and I will win by just complete luck. Toddy, your last one.
You know what? I'm going to go Jags too. Jags plus 3.5. When I looked at the line on Monday and guessing lines, and I said to myself, 3.5, it's just too many points. 3, I understand. 3.5, it's just too much. The Jaguars really impressed me by going into San Francisco with all their bungleizations, and we knew they like to bungle it up. But they won that game. They were the deserving team to win that game. They beat Houston pretty nicely, 17-10, and I felt they were the team that deserved to win that game. At Cincinnati, They should have won that game. They just gave it away. They had intercepted the ball inside the 10-yard line. They gave it away to Browning. It's on the road. It's understandable. It's a National Football League. And they shut down Carolina, a team they're supposed to shut down. What has Kansas City done aside from last week, which was like an all-in kind of game when everyone's like, oh, we got the Baltimore Ravens. It's the big Fox game of the week or NBC game of the week, whatever it is. Everybody's all fired up for Kansas City at home. Other than that, they were lackluster at the Giants in the win. The Eagles game, they lost by 3 at home. And at the Chargers in Sao Paulo or wherever the hell they played that game, they didn't look very good. So to me, how many times, like Cleve just said, how many times have we seen the Chiefs win 19-17 or 24-22 or 27-24 in the last couple of years? We see it all the time. The Chiefs do not seem to like to beat people or can't beat people by margin. I do like their defense. I still don't like their offense. Now, granted, Worthy coming back helps them, but I still don't like their offense. I think the Jags are an above average football team, and they're at home, and you're giving me 3.5. I'm sorry. I have to take that.
What happened the last time you went Oppo against me, Todd? Do you remember when that? You remember that?
I believe I lost, but I'm actually hearing right now.
Oh, here we
Chiefs lead 27-17 late in this ball game. Jacksonville's going to have one more play here from the 13-yard line. Lawrence back to pass, throws it in the corner to Thomas. The ball's tipped. I don't know. Wait, did he get it? He came down with it on the field. They're calling it a touchdown. Oh, we're going to have to go to replay, Jim. What do you think? Did he get the third foot in there? I'm not sure. I think he did. It's a touchdown. And the Jaguars will lose by 3, making Gill go home upset. Jim, what do you think?
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Here's the problem is they're going to go for 2 after that touchdown.
Yeah. No, I knew you were going to say that, Cleve. I knew you were going to say that, but we've already been through that.
Step out of bounds on his
we've
way
already been through
probably.
that with Steven Fezzik. You do not go for 2 to go from 4 to 2. It is not the same as going 14 to 8 to 6, and we will die on this hill. Me and Gilly will die on this hill.
TA, he's a very flawed play-by-play announcer, you may have noticed. For the first half of that, it sounded like you were announcing the Hindenburg going down. You're like, oh, the humanity. I was like, what is he doing? By the way, I love how you spun the Jaguars' schedules being impressive, beating Carolina and Houston, losing to Cincinnati, and eking by San Francisco. Good job by you on that one, Todd. Willie, your last one.
Torn between 2 unders here. I will go, and I didn't mean to do this with all these unders. It's just I happen to like unders this week. Under 43.5, Broncos, Eagles. Cleve talked about the Eagles and their inability to create big plays. 30th in the league in yards per play. Denver, 3rd in the league. Success rate defensively. Philly is 6th. Neither quarterback has been great. I think you're going to see a lot of running the ball, running the clock. I don't know, like a 21-14 type of game, something like that. I think it's hard to get to 44 points with the lack of explosiveness from each quarterback and each offense. 2 pretty good defenses. And I will go under the 43.5, my 4th pick, because these 4th picks have been doing well just the way the season's been going. I thought about taking your under 47.5 in your Commanders game with all the Chargers O-line issues, and Daniels may not be 100%, may not run, but I'm going under 43.5. Denver, Philly, 3rd pick.
All right. That means the Washington under is a lock to hit.
100%.
100% now that he didn't take it.
I don't mean to interrupt, Gil. I thought I was going to get on here with Will and he was going to pick the Titans. I think isn't that how that works?
That's exactly how it used to work.
I'm very upset at that. Very disappointed.
That's like kicking a man when he's down. He came back with the Titans this year, which I didn't think he would ever pick again, and picked them again and lost with them again. So you can't say that to the poor guy.
I'm the one who picked the Titans as a sleeper team. I deserve it too, so I'm good with that.
I am going with my final pick. I am going with the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh.
I believe this line has moved too much.
What's the line? 1.5 or 2?
2. I'm seeing 2 consensus because I see some 2.5s out there. So 2 is what I think it is, but you tell me.
So Ravens plus 2.
2. Yeah, I get it. It's no Lamar. They have cluster injuries. I understand why the line is moved, but they're playing the Houston Texans. And I don't know if you've caught the Texans act this year, but how can I put this about their offensive play? They are not good.
Not good.
not buttoned up, not good, not anything. And so you do get in the Ravens defense, which is a weakness, you do get weakness on weakness. And that's sort of the Dr. Bob handicap thing of it sort of mitigates the issue with your own team. And so you sort of get away with that in that respect. And Cooper Rush, for those, obviously everybody's, massive downgrade from Lamar to Cooper Rush. But how massive is the question? And last year, Cooper Rush played a lot of football, started a lot of games in Dak Prescott's when Dak Prescott got hurt for the Cowboys. And you just go, 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. He had games of, in terms of yardage, 354 against these Houston Texans, 354 yards passing, 247 against the DC Skins, 292 against the Bucks. I mean, he played, and listen, he's not breaking any records, but
he's a heck of a runner too. Have you seen how fast that guy is?
Not so good at that. But I just feel like this is an over adjustment. I'll take the Ravens plus the 2. Giving me points home, I'll take it. Ravens.
Not sure if this is going to affect your pick or not, Gil, but I did just see that Kyle Hamilton missed practice today too, which would be unbelievable.
Oh my God! On top of what they already have.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll see if he'll play or not, but that would be devastating too at this point.
Yeah. That's a good point. I did not see that as we're doing this. But I'm sticking with it, Ravens. And in a week where, again, we're all saying it is so true. These are how we're going to come up with 5 millions picks or whatever contest you might be in. I have no idea on the side. Okay, which brings us to the teaser of the week, 2-leg, 6-point teaser. TA, where'd you end up with this?
Yeah, this is pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Arizona and Buffalo. Get both of them down to 1.5, 2. Just need them to win pretty much. I'll take my chances with Josh Allen and fading Tennessee.
Arizona, Buffalo is mine as well.
Okay, so Arizona minus 1.5, Buffalo minus 2 for both you guys?
Yep.
Sure.
I'm on it. Again, my 6 survivors, 2 Rams, 2 Cardinals, 2 Bills this week. I think the Cardinals are the most organic of all in terms of not having future value. This is kind of the last spot to play the Cardinals. That's why they get 2.
I think I'm taking the Cardinals.
Yeah, they'll be the most picked this week.
I think
Circa is my guess. So.
Yep.
Is it me?
It's you.
What do we have for Rams 49ers? The official line, is it 8.5 or is it 9?
It is settled in at 8.5.
Yep, Rams and Cardinals.
Okay, so Willie goes Rams minus 2.5 and Cardinals minus 1.5. And I have Arizona also minus 1.5, but I have them with the Colts. The Colts are minus 7, right? So the Colts down to minus 1.
Yep.
I'll take the Colts. I just don't see the Raiders going in there. And I almost took Colts minus 7 as one of my picks. I think the Raiders are just an abysmal football team and just ridiculous mistakes. I mean, if you want to talk about unbuttoned up, Geno Smith is the definition of unbuttoned up. The guy needs to put a couple more buttons on that coat because this team is a absolute dumpster fire as far as stupidity.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention Carroll for Dumbo of the week. I thought playing for the field goal, especially with the Bears had time and 2 timeouts. Even if you make that long field goal, you're asking for trouble. I thought he was at least worth a mention.
By the way, I'm seeing him as many 6.5s as 7s in that Colts game. What do you have there? I almost feel like
if 6, so minus a half.
6.5. He's a great guy. Give him the 6.5.
Yeah. So Colts minus a half.
What? You know what's funny about the Tennessee game? So let's see how powerful they really are in terms of not covering the spread. Because one of my favorite trends that I almost blindly back every week, every year, I'm not going to do it here, I just won't, are teams that underdogs that come off a shutout loss. Like, it's automatic for me. And literally 71% against the spread in the last decade. Like, it's wow. And I had Atlanta last week, for example. And, there's got to be reasons for it. But if Tennessee doesn't cover their spread, like just another black eye with, the teams off shutout usually bounce back in a big way. But they might be the one team that does not fit that trend. So.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? The line would over adjust some. Yep. So 71%.
There's motivation on the teams, coming off. Maybe the other team doesn't take them serious. There's all those sorts of things. But they may be immune to it. So we'll see.
if Brian Callahan is not the first coach fired, I just like I want Will to win this, but like the amusement of this not happen, like if that did not happen, if someone fired their coach before this poor guy,
when is their bye week, Will?
I'm not sure. And the funny thing is, we're joking. In all seriousness, I don't think I'm going to win. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it already. The week before against the Colts was embarrassing. Last week was humiliating. I just feel like some people have chimed in on Twitter, like, you have no idea how clueless that owner is. That owner's just going to let the ship sink. I actually don't think I'm going to win. There's really no way to get off it unless you start taking shots on other people, and it's just not worth it at that point. There's no like yes, no line. I actually think somebody's going to get fired before I'm going to be funny that be pissed, but I'm already pissed. So whatever.
It's so funny that he was hired from the Zach Taylor tree. It's like someone mentioned that to me. I said, no, that's not a tree. That's a cactus, my friend. The Zach Taylor tree. They're both going to be the first two fired at this point.
Titans bye week is week 10. Week 10. So you might. It's too far out. Just enough.
Favored by 3.5.
Yeah. Adam Schefter reporting that John Harbaugh is out as Baltimore Ravens coach. Go figure. Who had that?
Who had that one? He's getting that in his earpiece as well as the show goes on. All right, I forgot to tell TA about this too, so he doesn't have to have one, but I keep forgetting to tell the guest. Todd has inserted the prop of the week.
No. Don't say that. I made a suggestion, and you could say, yes, you want it, or no, you don't want it. Don't put everything on me.
So I don't know if you have one, TA, but Todd, what is yours?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I have not even looked at props yet. So
I'm going back to Ferguson again for the Cowboys at over 5.5 plus 105. Over 5.5 catches. If you look at how many catches this guy gets, they throw to him constantly. Ferguson against the Packers, he only had 2 in the first half. He still ended up getting over 6.5, getting to 7, and no CeeDee Lamb. So, and Waller came back from the dead against the Jets as a tight end to catch 3 balls. So I don't see why Ferguson can't catch 6 balls. Give me over 5.5 with Fergie.
Really?
I am going to go Mason Taylor, Jets tight end, over 33.5 receiving yards. Son of Hall of Famer Jason Taylor, I guess nephew of Joy Taylor, former
great Joy Taylor.
Media personality, correct. Absolutely. 33.5 yards against the Cowboys. Their leaky pass defense. Taylor has started to get more and more targets. 13 over the last 2 weeks. 7 targets last week. 5 catches. 65 yards. Give me some.
What's Garrett Wilson? I bet you Garrett Wilson gets a lot too against that stupid Cowboys defense.
Boy, not only is Todd's mic an improvement from before, but now he just overrides everybody. It's so good.
No, I'm trying to buttress Willie's pick. I think it's a good pick against that crapola Dallas defense.
I enjoy when you buttress.
Talking into the mic this week too, as opposed to his left shoe like last week.
That's right. Big development. We're
here at Yankee Stadium last night, where the Will Hill family has entered the building, and the refreshments are all out, folks. All the pretzels are gone, all the nachos, and all the peanuts. So the only thing left is cotton candy, because the Will Hill family has eaten it all.
The Will Hill family calls it. Okay. I'm on Chris Boswell over 1.5 field goals made.
He's going under this week because they're not playing.
They're not playing. That's right. That was a bad beat last week. He should have had more than one.
I know he should have had it too.
That was terrible. I got no prop. I'm with Tia.
No problem for Gilly.
I'll just say, like, if you're just looking for something, just because it's my home team, Isaiah Bond, I think for the Browns, I think is going to get a real increased look here. And I think his yardage prop is in like the mid 25, 26 range. I think that's a low number. He got a bunch of targets last week. He's getting more incorporated in the offense. And I think they're going to try to get him the ball in different ways. So that could be an option for the London game, maybe even a first TD, like 20 to 1-ish look, if you want a little bit of action on a long shot Sunday morning.
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't do this. I had every intention of using Gabriel under 179.5. It's actually 181.5 passing yards. The Browns quarterback under. I don't know why I went with Taylor. I just kind of forgot that was my initial look was Gabriel under, just because I think they're going to run the ball and he's going against Florida's defense. So
yeah, I would assume. Speaking of home teams, I would think Zach Ertz would be overs this week with Jaden coming back. I assume Jaden is coming back. I don't know, but without a full arsenal of fully healthy wideouts, I have a feeling Jaden relies on Zach, who just catches everything this week. That would be I don't have a play on it, but I'm just saying that's how I would view the Jaden Daniels return. Yeah. The Dylan Gabriel thing is sound though, right? Like, I'm sure if the Browns, and TA, you can speak to this, I'm sure if they had to script it, this would not have been the spot for Gabriel overseas against the Brian Flores defense. But Joe Flacco being a 40-year-old statue, I guess there was no time better than the present. Is that kind of how they view it, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally it was, so they play Minnesota this week, and then they don't take a bye week. They go right to Pittsburgh next week, which is like the worst spot in the entire season, I think, for any team in the league. And then they play Miami. I think that was the kind of the circle, as that is when we would put in our rookie quarterback. And they thought that Joe Flacco would be, they'd raise the floor with him. They weren't going to win a bunch of games, but they weren't going to get blown out. They were going to at least be competitive. And he's been the worst quarterback in the NFL by a mile, by all the advanced metrics. He can't move. Teams just bull rush him, and he just stands there and holds the ball too long, and he's committing turnovers. So if you got a guy who's committing turnovers and also not scoring, then what's the point with this defense? So I think they just said, we need a guy who can at least get out of the pocket and run bootlegs and the kind of things that Stefanski runs. No. And Flacco is just limiting the playbook. So, who knows what happens against Flores? You don't overseas, kind of short work week, and having to face Flores is ugly. But I think they figure it's going to be ugly no matter what. So.
Yeah, Browns ideally, what Cleve's talking about, after the Pittsburgh game. So it's Minnesota this week, Pittsburgh next week. Then it's 3 AFC East opponents, everybody but Buffalo. In other words, the 3 bad AFC East teams with a bye week thrown in there. So that would have been the perfect spot, but no time like the present because Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. And so here, the other question on this: half a game started. There's my line on Shedeur Sanders this year. Over under half a game started.
Man, that's a good one. I think he gets a start. I think week 18, he gets a start.
There it is.
Because they're trying to tank for a quarterback.
That's the wild card.
By the way, that reaction, if people are watching or seeing me moan and groan, I had Jose Ramirez to walk first at bat. It's been a good angle. He walked 3 times yesterday.
What was it, 11-1?
No, today it was only 7-1. People are kind of onto it. And I have him 2+ walks at 8-1. 3-0 count, fastball down the middle, strike, 3-1, 3-2, 3-1, he fouls it off. 3-2, he swings at a ball in the dirt and strikes out.
He hates walking. He hates it.
He walked 3 times yesterday.
Yeah. It's so funny because you reacted, Will, and I immediately, when I was like, oh my God, who scored? Was it the Tigers or the Guardians? And I'm like, 0-0. What's he?
Ciccone had 26 pitches in the first inning.
Ciccone. Okay.
Jeez.
Sorry about that, Will. That's brutal.
Me too.
Was it number 11-1?
Today it was only 7-1 and 8-1 for 2+ walks.
There you go.
Look, I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I do know that the guards win in the craziest ways. So there's going to be some broken bat, infield single that's going to win, or it's going to be a hit batter with the bases loaded. So,
bro,
actually, catcher's interference is how they'll win tonight.
You have no idea, TA. I had them under season win total, then alt under, and they are just the bane of my existence. They are just the worst. All right, final 2 questions, and then we close with the story. Final 2 questions. Which of the big favorites, in your opinion, is the most likely to lose outright this week, TA? The candidates are, and there's not like a whole mess of them, but Rams tonight, 8.5-point favorites hosting the Niners. Colts, 7-point favorites against the Raiders at home. Arizona, 7.5-point favorites hosting the Titans. Detroit, 10.5 points on the road at the Bengals. Buffalo, 8-point favorites at home against the Patriots. If I come to you from the future and I say, hey, one of those teams lost outright, who would it be, TA? Who's going to lose?
I'm just going to say that the Cardinals, just because it's the Cardinal. Even though I like them this year, it's they just keep games close, and again, like I said, Titans coming off a shutout. Maybe that trend kind of comes back to rear its ugly head, and then they end up having a much better offensive output than expected. But I don't feel confident in any of that. But that would be my pick.
Cardinals are always a good choice there. Todd?
I have the Buffalo Bills and their stinky defense to go down against the Patriots.
You know what, man? There's exactly the 2 teams. If it's not the Cardinals, it's the Bills to me. Willie?
I'll throw in Cincy just to be different, just because Detroit, if you look at their injury report, they're dealing with a ton of injuries. I think 3 corners might not play. You got Higgins, you got Chase. Could that turn into a shootout and it's, somebody wins at 31-28? I don't think they'll win, but I thought about taking them as one of my picks.
I was
with the points. I did that with a couple weeks ago when the Browns beat the Packers, where I threw out the Browns as my potential upset. Of course, didn't use them as my pick because I'm a idiot who bets Jose Ramirez to walk and it goes 3-0 and he doesn't walk. He swings the ball in the dirt. But I'm going to go Cincy.
Wow.
Yeah,
So Detroit, in other words, you're going
Detroit.
I almost took them too, by the way. I agree with you. Yeah, the starting quarterbacks are out for Detroit. And I think you go to Denver and Minnesota back to back on the road. Like sometimes you're just going to look really foolish. I don't think the Bengals are as bad as we've seen. So I almost took their team total over as one of my picks. I think it's 19.5. And so because of those reasons, I don't see any way this Bengals defense stops the Lions offense. So that's the only reason why from a straight out lose perspective, it's going to be, the Bengals are 32nd in yards before contact allowed on the ground. Like, what is Jahmyr Gibbs going to do? I think it's a defense, but I think the offense will at least show up this week.
See, I thought about you on a numbers game this morning because we had a listener. We were talking about awards markets and somebody said, I got Jared Goff 25-1. And I immediately thought about you and I'm like, nope. He finished second in yards last year, 5th in touchdowns, and they went 15-2, and he was like 100-1 in the end, and finished 5th in the voting. Yeah, it's like for whatever reason he is not a consideration for that. And then the final question: we live in a bizarre world. We bet every single one of these games on the side, but you get one game, TA, that you want no part of. What's the game that you would totally not bet?
It's going to be the Browns-Vikings. Both have, obviously we know about Gabriel versus Flores as a rookie, and they got both tackles are out for the Browns, but 4 offensive linemen, I think, are out for Minnesota. And you got Carson Wentz against that defense. It's honestly, whoever wins, it's going to be like a fluky, tip pick 6 or something from the defense. So I don't have a strong feeling on either side there.
Toddy.
I don't really want any part of Miami against the Carolina Panthers. I don't trust Miami to do anything. Who knows what you get from Carolina, except when they're down 42-6, they put the red rifle in and he takes them down for the backdoor touchdown. I'll stay away from that.
Ravens, Texans, I get it's over corrected, but man, they're so bad on defense. Rush and Lamar are a different style of quarterback. So is that going to be just like a seamless transition? You could kind of tell me anything happens in that game and I would believe it. So Ravens and Texans for me.
Commanders, Chargers for me, because I don't know if it's Jaden, and if it is Jaden, I don't know if I don't know what ends up winning the day, the banged up Chargers offensive line or the terrible sieve of a defense that Washington has. So no outcome would really surprise me there in that ball game. Usually that's where we end, but today, because it is Yom Kippur,
it's already 3:30. Why don't we just do this on ANG next week?
No, because it's Yom Kippur today, Todd. That's why we do it.
Oh my God! Yeah, but you tell them, you tease the story. You go next week on a great ANG.
Arguing with me. It's
2
the
days
day
after
of
guessing
Yom
the lines.
Kippur. He doesn't want to tell the story, but I'm making him tell the story.
How about guessing lines?
Those who haven't missed it, it is the final time that he will ever tell this because I'm so sick and tired of him pushing back. But it is one of the great gambling stories of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, he calls it the Yom Kippur Massacre. I just want to alert everybody there has not been a massacre.
God.
No panic. Everything's okay. Todd, go. Tell the story. Let's hear it.
So in October 14th, 2014, I'm living in Los Angeles. It's Yom Kippur. I am a renounced Jew. I grew up as an Orthodox Jew, and I am now the opposite of that. I am a renounced Jew. I don't believe in any organized religions, and I can go on and on, but I won't. But anyways, it's Yom Kippur. So in the past, I would have fasted on Yom Kippur. It's the Day of Atonement for the Jews, but I stopped doing that in 2008. This was 2014, so I decided I'll go over to my Fugazi Jewish friend's house and watch college football because it's Saturday college football. This guy's similar to Gill, very Fugazi Jew, doesn't know anything, that barely knows a damn thing about being Jewish, but, fasts on Yom Kippur because, it's Yom Kippur, right? So he's over there.
Go ahead.
This guy, he's a Fugazi Jew. He's fasting. I'm not fasting, but he's fasting. We're watching college football, which is not exactly what you're supposed to do on Yom Kippur if you're really a serious Jewish person. You're supposed to be in temple praying for forgiveness of your sins. Anyways, we're watching the game. It's late in the day. I had a huge bet, and I really needed to win it because I'm betting way over my head. And I bet under 34.5 in the second half of the Arizona State USC game at the Coliseum. USC had not Kerry. I can't remember the guy's name. He played a little bit in the NFL, but the quarterback for USC. Anyways, USC's winning the game. In the second half, really nobody's scoring anything. So my under 34.5 second half is looking incredibly good. Right at that point, because the game had started late afternoon, Yom Kippur ends at sundown. And I said to my friend, hey, you haven't eaten anything. I have no reason to think I'm going to lose this bet. I'll go around the corner and get you a sandwich because you haven't eaten anything. So I go around the corner, we get sandwiches. I come back, we're watching the game. There's like 4 minutes to go or something. I can still give up 3 touchdowns and still win. I mean, it was ridiculous. So all of a sudden, like 3 minutes to go, touchdown happens, then an onside kick and a long run for USC. Another touchdown happens, then another touchdown happens. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm still winning, but out of nowhere, it's now the last play of the game. Arizona State has the ball at around midfield, maybe the 45-yard line. There's one play left, and I'm still winning the bet. It's a Hail Mary. They'll knock it down. I'll win the bet. It'll be no problem. Of course, the Arizona State quarterback goes back, throws it high in the air. Jalen Strong jumps up in front of the pack at the 2-yard line, falls into the end zone, touchdown. My friend starts laughing hysterically like a hyena because he just cannot believe what just has happened to me because he knows I needed to win this bet. He wasn't trying to rub it in. He was just almost like shocked about what we just saw. It was so startling to lose this bet. Okay, fine. That's, just a really bad beat story when you really don't need a bad beat. That really means nothing. I could tell you 1,000 bad beat story, right? Okay, so fine. That was the end of that. We started calling it the Yom Kippur Massacre because I got massacred on Yom Kippur, right? So then we used to hang out at the Beverly Hills Coffee Bean over on Beverly Drive, and we would just chat with people and stuff. And so he texts me out of the blue. He was over there. He texts me a Yahoo profile of a college football player. Now, this Fugazi Jewish guy who I was at his house doesn't know anything about sports or football. He's never sent me anything about any football player in his entire life. He sends me a profile of the quarterback for Arizona State, Mike Bercovici. I'm like, are you just fucking with me now? Like, why would you send that to me? That is nasty, especially after what just happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Why would you send that to me? He goes, I didn't know. I don't know anything about it. What are you talking about? He goes, this guy's over here. And he says his grandson is the quarterback for Arizona State. He goes, you got to come over and meet this guy. So I go, what? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. So I go over to the coffee shop, sit down. This guy, 77-year-old guy from Romania. He's talking to my friend, and we're kibitzing whatever over there. And then all of a sudden we say, oh, did you see the game on Saturday? He goes, oh yeah, I go to all my grandson's games. Yeah, I said I lost on the Hail Mary. He goes, oh yeah, that's my grandson. He's a college football player. Yeah. So it's kind of a little bit odd that we're meeting, that we never met anybody's grandfather in college football in the history of all my betting. And all of a sudden we're meeting the guys.
What he called the Hail Mary. What did he call the Hail Mary?
I'll get to that. I'll get that in a second. I'll get to. So I said to him, oh, so, your grandson, he cost me a lot of money. I'm like, you must have been at the game. He said you go to all the games, right? And it was here in LA. This guy lives in Beverly Hills. He used to go to Arizona State to go to the games. He was definitely going to be at the Coliseum. So I go, oh, you must have been at the game. He goes, oh, no, I wasn't at the game. I was like, well, you just said you go to all the games. What are you talking about? He goes, oh, it was Yom Kippur. I can't go to the game on Yom Kippur. I'm like, wait a second. You're Jewish. He goes, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was in the Holocaust and the whole thing. Then he starts telling us Holocaust stories and everything. And he goes, and I said, okay, now, so your grandson, who is he? Your daughter? Is your daughter's son? Oh, yeah, that's my daughter's son. So Mike Bercovici, at this point, I was waiting for them to like pull back the curtains on reality. And I was like, Mike Bercovici. First of all, we've never met anybody's grandfather in history. We meet the guy, but he's the guy who throws the Yom Kippur Massacre pass, plays college football, and it's that guy, and he's Jewish on Yom Kippur. There are no Jews in college football, folks. There are accountants, there are lawyers, there are doctors, there are no quarterbacks. Josh Rosen wasn't even technically Jewish, only his dad was Jewish, and he was a horrible quarterback. But that's the exception that proves the rule. There are no football players. There are certainly college quarterbacks. It's ridiculous. So to this day, my friend Sean still thinks it's the craziest thing he ever heard. That the guy who threw the Yom Kippur Massacre pass, we meet his grandfather at the coffee shop, and it turns out, he goes, I said, oh yeah, he beat me on the Hail Mary. He goes, oh, you mean the Holy Moly? He's calling it the Holy Moly because he's from like Romania, so he doesn't even know the terms. It was just absurd and ridiculous. So there's your Yom Kippur Massacre story. You can take that in a lot of different ways.
Well done. That is a very, very convoluted story, but that is the unlikeliness of that is just tremendous. The Yom Kippur Massacre, as told by Todd Wishnev.
I mean, it would be crazy. It would be crazy enough if we meet somebody's grandfather who threw a Hail Mary to have a bad beat 2 weeks before, but that the guy was Jewish and it was on Yom Kippur is like so ridiculous. It's like beyond belief.
As my dad used to tell me when I used to go to work on Yom Kippur, what kind of Jew are you? Imagine Meg Bercovici playing quarterback on a Saturday on Yom Kippur.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening, everybody. CleveTA at CLEVTA on Twitter. All of his stuff available through that, TA, yes?
Yeah, or cleveanalytics.com.
Or cleveanalytics.com, CLEV analytics.com. Todd Wishnev at T Wishnev. You signing up, people, Todd? Still?
Oh yeah. If you want to be on the WhatsApp in-game group, just send your phone number on a direct message to me and put WhatsApp on your phone.
Willie at not the with 2 E's at not the Will Hill. Name of the podcast is Shoulda Bet More. Who's your latest guest on there?
Shoulda Bet More. Wednesday had Jeff Parles. Shoulda bet less on Jose Ramirez to walk. I'm so.
How about shouldn't have eaten so much at the Yankee game so there's no more refreshments for anyone else?
Will checked out when Jose Ramirez failed to walk on a 3-0 count. Thanks for listening. Good luck with all your bets. Week 5 in the National Football League.